Mercedes is one team that we cannot wait to see how it will perform in 2023. And although the initial reports say that not much has been improved in the W14, that is far from the truth. Everyone in Brackley is excited to show the world what they have in store for the upcoming season, as the W14 will be introduced on February 15th. What are some of the new innovations on the new car? Is Mercedes ready to be competitive again and win races more frequently? And what are the stances of Toto, Wolff, and George Russell on the new machine? This video has all of the answers, so don't go anywhere. If there is one word on which we can elaborate on Mercedes' 2022 season, that is disastrous. But even with a season like they had in 2022, the team wasn't giving up and came to the point of winning a race in Brazil, which was a terrible record that was threatening the team when it came to winning at least one race in the whole season. This hasn't happened since 2011, and unfortunately for Hamilton, he's experienced the first winless season of his career. But the Brit is ready to shrug off the negativity and enter the 2023 season with hope that he'll be the record breaker in championships won. This is going to be much easier said than done for him, given the fact that he isn't even the #1 driver in the team as things stand right now. But we'll get to that later in this video. There's something more important we need to explain first. In order for him and his teammate to be competitive, they need a strong and reliable car. If we've learned something from the 2022 season, it's that Mercedes is a very close friend with reliability, as the bulletproof engine has proven to work miracles when Ferrari was catching fire and when Red Bull had reliability issues in the first 3 races. Nonetheless, the rest of the car was a true disaster, and even though Mercedes thought that they scored the jackpot with the no-pod side-pod design, they've been proven horribly wrong. The Brackley-based team, however, will keep the same side-pod design for the new season because, according to Toto Wolff, opting for a new design will only take them down the road. And while he said that the philosophy of the team and the DNA of the car have changed a lot, the fans aren't really sure what that means in terms of the car's looks and performance. So let's not keep you in the dark anymore and present the newly founded W14. One difference between the 2023 Challenger and the previous version is the version of the floor, which will see changes in all of the teams due to the new regulations. The cars will have a 10mm lift in the floor segment and a 15mm lift in the side segment, which means that the floors will have to be thicker to prevent the flexing phenomenon, which Mercedes was the fiercest fighter against Ferrari and Red Bull in 2022. It's quite paradoxical, isn't it, given that all cars will now weigh more and lose half a second in performance? But Mercedes is a team that's been branded as an innovative one, and the sections of the Venturi channels as well as the diffuser throat are going to withstand the most changes compared to the other parts of the car. The rear of the car, however, may be less tapered for 2 obvious reasons. The first one would be the aerodynamical nature of it, something that Mercedes will enjoy the most compared to Ferrari and Red Bull when it comes to the aerodynamical facilities. While the second one would be from a structural point of view. What does this necessarily mean? It means that the aerodynamic part of this change will see the car having a flat section at the level of the rear suspension, which will go on to form a T-shape at the rear in order to increase the efficiency of the diffuser by exploiting the beam wing. The second structural reason would be the large open floor space at the bottom of the W13 that was quite flexible at the ends. So, in order to battle this phenomenon, the team needs to build a thicker floor, something that is considered a double-edged sword. Why, you may ask yourself? The reason is simple. A thicker floor means more material will be added to it, which will make the car essentially heavier. Remember that overweight was the #1 issue that cars faced in the new regulatory era, and that starting in 2023, the challenge has been reduced by an additional 2 kilos, as cars will have a minimum weight of 796 kilograms. According to reports, Red Bull is the only team that managed to assemble a thicker floor in order to combat the porpoising, and yet somehow make it lighter than its predecessor, which leads you to wonder, is Adrian Newey a human or some kind of super machine? We're going back to Mercedes. Obviously, the gearbox structure for the upcoming season is going to see an evolution, given the fact that now there are different arrangements of the critical components of the rear suspension. What is very good news for Mercedes, something that they are relying on heavily, is the engine of the W14, one that has been fired up back in Brackley thanks to the engineers led by Wolff. And this is an aspect that will see massive improvement in 2023, given the fact that Petronas, one of Mercedes' primary sponsors, has optimized the combustion of the fuel thanks to the new formulations of it. Another reason that Mercedes is looking forward to the double-bottom version, which could be adopted for the W14. This is something that Mercedes are going to copy from Red Bull, as it was seen to be a very dominant structure regarding the side pod design of the car. However, rumors about the company adopting this version of the side pod design are something that haven't been confirmed yet. Quite the contrary, it seems like the team will keep the zero pod design. But is this enough for Mercedes to be competitive again? Nothing is certain, and who would have thought that they would drop off so much in performance in 2022? Therefore, who can say that they will remain exactly where they are in 2023? The team is banking on Red Bull's sporting penalty, which would see Mercedes spend 20% more time in aerodynamic facilities, which is precisely where Mercedes struggled in 2022. Now that they'll likely keep the same concept for their car, they will need some more time in the wind tunnels in order to understand the aerodynamic prospects of it. With that being said, what does Wolff have to say about the new version of the car? When talking about it, Wolff said, "It's full of surprises. The last time I saw it, I thought, oh, this looks the same as the W13, but here's hoping it's not the same. I'm pretty much like you. I go into the wind tunnel and it looks like this year's car, but they say to me it's very different underneath. It's about the airflow, it's about the weight distribution, it's about the aero map. Our car fundamentally changed mid-year. We changed the concept, but we couldn't see anything on the bodywork." With this, Mercedes boss finally admitted that the double floor design will not be used in the newest version of the car, and that the zero pod design will remain. But what does Russell have to say about the new Challenger? He was involved in the first couple of videos that Mercedes released when he was entering a draft version of the W14, full of smiles and happiness. When talking about this, he said that, as of now, there is nothing that shows the car cannot be competitive, and they could go on to win a championship yet again after having a disastrous season in 2022. But what is the reality of Mercedes in 2023? Hamilton was outperformed by a teammate for the third time in his career last year, after losing the championship battle to Rosberg in 2016 and losing the teammate battle to Button in 2011. Nonetheless, it seems like he will have a very difficult time achieving the 8th record-breaking championship, mostly because Russell has shown himself to be a more reliable choice for the team when it comes to scoring podiums and high-point finishes. After all, he did receive the name Mr. Consistency while Hamilton was out of Q1 in Jeddah and battled to pass Magnussen in a Haas. Russell quickly killed Hamilton's statements that the 7-time world champion was the guinea pig of the team, further adding that both of them were given the same settings and it was up to them to choose how they'd adjust the car prior to every race weekend. Therefore, Hamilton will have an issue being the team's number one, let alone winning a championship that would break all of the records. All of this could spark discussions about a potential retirement, but that's a topic for another video. What do you think about the W14 and the details that are supposed to make the silver arrows even more competitive? Let us know in the comments below.